Welcome to our second day of the Open Business Council Summit. And to everyone listening to us all over the world, I want to welcome everyone. We had the first day of a huge success in terms of numbers and in terms of, first of all, the quality of our sessions, panels, and with around 50 people joining us in terms of our sessions, panelists, speakers, CEOs, and leading personalities and governments. And we're here today to continue with the second day full of a wealth of panelists, wealth of sessions that will be highlighting the different trends, the different things that we are facing today when it comes to governments, business, digital transformation, and the challenge with COVID-19 and how to deal with this in a way that can create empowerment, digital capacity for making better empowerment of society, and as well create more opportunities and that can actually coordinate with the challenge that we are facing nowadays. We're going to be starting in around 13 minutes with a session, a special fireside between Eric van der Cliff, co-founder of Adyen.com base, adrenbase.com, and creator of Level 39 and former advisor to the British government in terms of the creation of Tech City that became London Tech City, that became Tech Nation UK, and as well the creator of Level 39 and the first CEO, and right now in a new venture that is looking at precisely how to look at the best things of technology and empower society. And during this fireside, we're going to have Naokazu Takemoto, the Honorable Minister of State and Science and Technology and Policy for Japan, and Kato Ochi, Special Advisor to the Government of Japan, and as well a strategist that has been working in technology in a lot of different areas. And then we have as well as a special guest, Jabeen, Managing Director, CEO of Startup Bangladesh, part of the ICT Government Minister. Then we have a panel, the Global Government Business and Startup Tech Landscape Post-COVID Challenge and Opportunities. That will be moderated by me with the Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation for Ukraine. We have as well Tran Van Tang joining us via a pre-record video. That is the Minister of Science and Technology Deputy for Vietnam. And Kimi Duan Kimiko, as she's known, that is responsible for the Vietnam Digital Transformation Frontier Tech Organization that works with the minister representing Vietnam. Luisa Rubio Arribas, head of Wire X, part of the Telefonica group, and of course Tina, that will be joining as well this panel. We have afterwards how can frontier tech, blockchain, AI, fintech change our government, cities, and society? Another very interesting panel moderated by Javed Katak. And then we have ecosystem, digitization, decentralized digital assets, DeFi, blockchain, and crypto, which is a very solid topic for our days. And we continue with 6 more panels during the day that you can see in openbusinesscouncil.org/summit. And you can see just the agenda with all the panelists, the speakers, the bios, and so forth. So I'm excited to have everyone joining us from different parts around the world, different time zones. We have people from Japan, where it's already afternoon, people from Bangladesh, people from India, and all Southeast Asia. We have as well a team in Kuala Lumpur and Vietnam. And we have, of course, people joining us a bit later in the afternoon from the Americas, and of course from Europe, where it's right now morning. So this summit was created with the focus of looking at a lot of things that are happening nowadays, especially the areas of the fourth industrial revolution and the society 5.0, and how can we tackle these problems that are becoming the biggest problems and probably a frontier technology challenge for humanity. But as well, this all happens during one of the most challenging years, 2020, that precisely 100 years from the last biggest pandemic that was in 1920 has been disrupting the entire world, and as well has been creating a serious challenge for governments, for business, creating a huge financial economic havoc, but as well making us all change the way we interact with each other, with social distance, with a lot of challenge on these areas. But this all happens at the same time that we can actually share our ideas, our enthusiasm, and as well our challenge via digital tools. These digital tools are becoming more powerful than ever, and especially frontier technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and the Internet of Things, and a lot of other technologies, especially fintech, are changing everything we do and the way we behave as humans. So we're going to be reflecting this, and I welcome everyone around the world to join us. We are streaming on YouTube channel of the Dinis Guarda Cities ABC Open Business Council. We are as well streaming special this session in the YouTube channel of the Startup Bangladesh Limited, and we are as well on Facebook, on Twitter, Open Business HQ, and Cities ABC _, and with a lot of other people around the world that are joining us and collaborating. So a couple of notes that I want to highlight, and especially probably presenting Eric van der Kleef, that is going to make the honors of starting the first fireside panel. One of the things that we are excited is to make sure that part of this summit can actually help us coping better with all the challenges that we're facing, but as well connecting people with different experiences, different source of knowledge, and as well people that are struggling, but as well trying to create a more positive emphasis to all the challenges that we are facing. We are definitely in a very big, I would say, crossroad that is changing the entire society and creating a lot of challenges. And I think the way we tackle this precisely this year and in the next 3 to 5 years is going to be critical, because we are facing definitely a huge challenge when it comes to everything that is happening in terms of the way we deal with each other, but especially the way we are dealing increasingly with our tools, with our technology, new tools. And I think the most important thing for me as a technologist, as an author, and as well someone that takes these things serious, and as well being teaching for the last 10, 15 years, is how can we make sure that our young generation, our business, our startups, and our governments all work together on this. We cannot divide more society, and this is a great opportunity to make this happen. And as well, with all the challenges come a lot of opportunities. And I think the way we deal with this now will make a big difference. Artificial intelligence, even in its inception, has created already a lot of changes in society, especially if you look what happened in the US elections, what happened actually in Brexit here in the UK, where I'm based. That has been dividing society and creating a lot of challenges, but as well has been creating unique opportunities for us to share our ideas together and create new paths to improve and to optimize our business, our society, and everything related. And today we're going to be talking precisely about this. We have a variety of panels that will be tackling this, and we have some of the global leading experts like we had yesterday, and everyone can see these panels as well because they will be recorded after and will be posted online. So one of the things that probably in some of the notes that we had yesterday is that COVID-19 has been the biggest digital accelerator. Let's say if you would go back to beginning of 2020, which has been one of the most challenging years in the last 100 years, I think most of the governments were not putting the priority in digital. They were putting other priorities. Of course, everyone is trying to do their best, but digital right now went to the front. It went to the first priority, and every government in the world right now knows that it has to take this serious. Like yesterday, some ministers mentioned the countries that will make a difference are the ones that will take this serious. They will focus in education. They will focus in creating strategies, policies, and ways and solutions that can take this forward and can make a big difference. That's what we try to do with this summit. And the platform that is behind it, openbusinesscouncil.org, is precisely an open business and open society 5.0 focus on making this. We're going to start precisely with the Minister Naokazu Takemoto, that is behind the government of Japan strategy for state science and technology. And the Japanese government created the concept of Society 5.0. That is a wonderful concept that can actually make the bridge between a human, nature-centric, super intelligent society, where actually we can use these tools to serve us and not the other way around. So we still have a lot of challenge in the world. We have a huge disproportion of the inequality. We have still a lot of countries that are under extreme poverty, and the COVID-19 actually created a huge disruption because it created a lot of poverty and a lot of disruption. But it's creating as well a lot of new tools for us to empower people with financial inclusion, education, and a lot of other things. So if we tackle this right now, and if we work together, we can actually create a lot of solutions. So I want to highlight these, and the panels today are going to be precisely about this. We have panels like how can governments, business, universities develop education, policies, and solutions, where we have leading personalities discussing this. We have how blockchain and 4AR, fourth industrial revolution, can transform traditional business, governments, impact the markets, ecosystems in the future. And governments and smart cities, a very important concept that is more important than ever. And of course, looking at the fusion of 5G, AI, blockchain, big data, IoT, and cybersecurity, as well, how we can actually look at roads to smart sustainability, accessibility, inclusive society. So I will just right now put some notes about the co-host for the first session and the moderator, which is Mr. Eric van der Kleef. That is a dear friend and someone I deeply respect. And I think he's a great personality to jumpstart this second day. So Eric van der Kleef is the technology entrepreneur and CEO of the edenbase.com, a new venture that is going to be explaining. And as well, he's been leading the UK government strategies, or being part of that strategy, to empower the British society to look at how tech can actually create better solutions. And as well, has been very successful in the last 8-9 years. The UK became in the forefront of technology. And 9 years before, London, for instance, was a capital of technology and finance. Well, it's mostly finance, but there was not the technology of capital like it is right now. So that work was done between different people in society, and it was a huge success. I have a lot of respect for Eric, and I think he's going to be coordinating a great panel between one of the personalities of the government of Japan, one of the leading economies in the world, and as well Jabeen, that is going to be joining us from Bangladesh and talking as well about the Bangladesh economy, where she's leading the startup sector and working particularly with the government and the business to take a better opportunity. So I welcome everyone listening to us in the world and join us for this celebration of ideas and as well solutions for our society. Thank you all. And Eric, I pass the word to you, I think probably in 1 minute.
Good morning. How are you? Can you still hear me? Oops. Oh, a little bit of a choppy signal there. Let's try that again. Ochi-san, can you hear me? Takemoto-san, can you hear me? No, we don't hear any sound. Let's see.
You are on mute, Kato.
Look at that.
Mic on. Here we go.
Very poor sound quality. I think maybe reconnect would be a good idea.
We need this.
No.
ヘッドホンをね、
Reconnect.
そっち。ヘッドホン
Your
を
device is open.
じゃあ僕そっち行きましょうかね。これ来ますね。Let me just switch my phone off and I'll join
Reconnect.
Mr. Takemoto over there. And I'll just
Yes,
switch
I think.
it off. Here we go.
Yes, I think it's that.
I'm going to send Kevin a message to ask him to reconnect, Dinis, because
Here we go.
actually maybe could you do that? Just send him a message. There you are.
Yes. I switched. I turned off my phone because it was.
No, let's just check something. Dinis, can you hear the same sound problem I'm hearing?
Now it's okay.
It's okay. Is it because I
can hear
can't
you
hear?
very well.
So I might
hear you very well.
reconnect. Okay, so maybe it's my connection. So I'm going to leave and reconnect. Please hold. I'll join you in 1 minute.
Sure.
And Tina, you can come as well.
なんか言ってる。
いや、今ね、彼女がそのバングラデシュです。
あ
Hello,
あ、そう。
Tina. Nice
Very good afternoon from Dhaka.
from
Honor-
Dhaka. Okay.
Honorable Minister Naokazu Takemoto.
Good
Nice
evening.
meeting.
Nice meeting.
Kato, can you
Good
push your
afternoon.
screen for us to see the face of the minister and yours? Because we
Yeah.
can only see part of. Yeah, much better now. Thank you.
Hi.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
connected?
We're
I'll
all
let
set.
you go. You are all set up.
Please go ahead.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Hajime mashita. Welcome.
Good job.
Thank you all very much. Thank you all for joining. My name is Eric van der Klee. I'm the chief executive of Edenbase.com, a post-COVID launched ecosystem and hub that really focuses on supporting startups, digital and technology. I will be moderating today, and I have the privilege of interviewing very esteemed panelists. So thank you all very much for joining. I will ask you, if I may, to please first introduce yourselves, starting ladies first with Tina Jabeen. Tina is the CEO and Managing Director of Startup Bangladesh, which is part of the ICT Ministry for the Government of Bangladesh. Tina, would you mind just introducing yourself, telling us just in a minute a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much, Eric. A very good afternoon from Dhaka, Bangladesh here. Honorable Minister Naokazu Takemoto. It's very nice. It's an honor to be in the same program with you. So like you said, Eric, Startup Bangladesh Limited, it is a flagship venture capital firm, which is basically wholly owned by the government of Bangladesh under the Ministry of ICT. And this has been conceived under the visionary guidance of our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, and a very generous allocation of about $60 million, which is part of the Digital Bangladesh strategy. As you know, that the architect of Digital Bangladesh, Shojib Wajid Joy, is leading the ICT sector, and under a very, very able leadership of our Honorable State Minister of ICT, Mr. Zunaid Ahmed Polok. So the fund is going to just make regular, just as an investment fund, venture fund, it's going to make equity investments in seed and growth stage companies. Also, probably a little bit of investments in the pre-seed companies. I will just stop here and then probably hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so a very great honor also to welcome Takemoto-san, Minister of State for Science and Technology Policy, and Ochi-san, Special Advisor to the State Minister, Business and Political Consultant, amazing TV personality, strategist, film personality. It's fantastic to get you guys here. Welcome. Hajime mashita.
Thank you very much for your invitation. My name is
yoroshiku onegai
Naokazu Takemoto. I have been working until 2 months ago as a state minister for technology. Science and technology, okay? And this time I'm very much glad to have this kind of very unique chance to talk with so many people all over the world. And, we are very much suffering from the COVID-19. And every day the infected people, the number of the people are increasing every day. And not so serious as the United States or the European country. However, I'm afraid it becomes the same situation. So anyhow, we have to change the views about the COVID-19 with all of the world friends. Okay, anyhow, we are, our government is now paying a great effort to build up AI system all over this country. And while I was serving as a state minister, I made a plan to unite all of the ministries within 3 years as one run. So within a year, maybe the next September, our government will establish the digital transformation agency. Yeah. And every information should be centered on this agency. I think in so doing, we can catch up with the advanced country, the United States or some other countries.
Thank you. It's a huge challenge, I'm sure,
Yes.
which is especially trying to get 3 government departments to work together. Having worked in number 10 Downing Street before, I realize how challenging that can be. But Kevin, let me ask you a question, if I may, which is, as you move from science and technology to think about just digital transformation, how is Japan looking at just the transformation to digital? What are the kind of things that they're looking at the moment?
Well, as the minister just told us, that the Digital Transformation Agency is to be established in September 2021, which is next year, I think.
Right.
And they'll be launching all sorts of functions there, I think.
And it's the first time for such an agency to have been created, right?
Exactly. I mean, Japan, obviously, I don't know about other countries, but I've been in Japan for more than 20 years. I feel that most the agencies here, ministries, are very much sectionalized, and they don't really. And then the one big agency, or the ministry, should I call it, the Ministry of Finance, is the one that holds the budget, and all other agencies and ministries are like after that money, and so there's a big competition among them, and therefore that strengthens their sectionalism, so to speak. So they hardly interact, and they always fight their turf war and such. But by bringing this digital transformation, every single information data will be sucked up to this one particular agency, which is some fear that this agency could even compete or maybe become more powerful than the existing financial ministry. So that's something that we need to see how things will turn out. But this digital transformation will probably, hopefully, put a stop to this sectionalism and turf war among the ministries and the competition, which is not exactly serving well for the ordinary people, for the people of Japan. So I have high hopes for that.
It's interesting because in the past, we have seen examples in Japan of where the major Japanese corporations would collaborate and co-invest in R&D to actually then share the IP. That's long in the historic past. But it is interesting because as digital becomes an incredibly important part of the economy, it would seem logical to create a digital agency that actually was responsible for that. But I understand that change is always challenging. But moving to Bangladesh and what's happening there at the moment, Tina, it's very exciting, I hear. But you've also experienced San Francisco, haven't you? Which is, I think that's interesting. What do you feel the main difference is then between, say, the US startup society and the challenges and excitement of what's happening in Bangladesh?
Thank you so much, Eric. I think that, San Francisco and Dhaka, they are, very different place, different culture, different resources. But one thing that is very common, which is the entrepreneurial spirit, right? Bangladesh is by DNA is an entrepreneurial country. You will see everybody here, even though they're working and, holding a job, they are doing something on the side. And, that is an entrepreneurial spirit. What is lacking here is the access to resources, financial resources, technology, the best technology, and that is totally reasonable, right? Because Bangladesh is still inching towards. Actually, it is reached the middle income country status, but it is inching towards the ambition is to become a high income country. So it is so all the resources is not going to be exactly the same in San Francisco. What is in San Francisco that I have seen? I was there for almost 27 years. I still have my primary home front there. But what I have seen is that the access to resource, technology, finance, the ecosystem is already built, right? So there is a lot more. It's easy for startups to go and pitch to a VC fund on Sand Hill Road, but not the same in Dhaka, Bangladesh overall, because the whole ecosystem is not more than 6-7 years old, and truly the ecosystem kind of starting getting traction in last 5 years and really took off in last 4 years. Okay.
I see. Yeah.
So if you compare, right, if you compare the what they have accomplished in last 4 years, that is impressive. With the limited resources, with not a very much the venture capital ecosystem or the atmosphere here. So that would be my comment.
That's very helpful. Yes, one of the things that I realized was that, of course, Japan, I think, is one of the biggest investors in inward investors into Bangladesh anyway, isn't it, Takemoto-san? Perhaps you can tell us a little about that and the priorities that you are facing in Japan.
Well, we are doing great and paying a great effort to develop startups in our country. To tell the truth, the number of unicorn is only few, maybe 4 or so, but the United States more than 200. And in Europe, the same number, I think. So, we have to develop startup. So, this last spring, we have decided to build up Silicon Valley in Japan's major city, Tokyo, Nagoya, Osaka, Fukuoka. And we are going to elevate, giving us subsidized or some other thing, those startup will grow up, become a big one. If they need some assistance from the government or some other institution, we are helping them. So in so doing, sooner or later, maybe 3 or 4 years, we may have 20 or 30 unicorns. Yeah. And in so doing, we have started to teach the Japanese younger people and also the younger people who want to become a startup, how to collect information, how to invent a technology, how to take investment from other world or something like that. Through 1 year, we are giving so many lectures. Yeah, and in so doing, younger people will become a big
entrepreneurs.
Yeah, entrepreneur. Yes.
Oh, wonderful. That would be sugoi, ne? That would be great if that's possible. But my question for you then, Takemoto-san, is to create a strategy like that requires education, culture, and also policy. Do you think that Japan will implement policies to support super growth and unicorn and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, to tell the truth, if some idea is invented for example, future Nobel Prize or something like that, the evaluation of this idea is very low compared with the case of the United States. Maybe 1/20 is my sense, So the brilliant young people will go to Europe or the United States, change this situation. This is a role of the government, I think. We have did so many things, but nevertheless, for example, 1億円って何て言ったっけ？いくら
$1
$1 million will be given to some researcher or some unicorn who are studying or working in the universities. And we select maybe 300 people all over Japan, or something like that. So, in so doing, we actually, those young people will apply for the future. And what's more, the government, we are going to develop new technology. We call this one moonshot program. Eight project we have, including some idea to combat with COVID-19.
Oh, very good. The whole world will want to know about that. So that's a great idea. Okay. Well, we look forward to learning more about that. I think a moonshot program is a brilliant idea. But Tina, the government of Bangladesh is working on a big technology startup ambitious plan and fund. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that and the ambitions? If it is successful, what happens in, say, 5 years' time? What will have happened?
Thank you, Eric. You are absolutely right. The government of Bangladesh, under the visionary guidance of our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, we are working on an extremely ambitious plan, which is based on technology. Because, the technology is the way to go, right? To transform a society, to bring large-scale impact, and to reach the last miles, and to achieve the SDG 2030 goals. So with that in mind, technology is being incorporated in all our national plans, in any type of public works, infrastructure, and whatnot. And right now, what we are doing is the ICT Ministry have this massive projects, couple of big projects, I'll just say very quickly. One is the High-Tech Park Authority, Bangladesh High-Tech Park Authority. And there is like almost 39 high-tech park and special technology park that is under development, and some are in operations. And the idea is to host technology firms, and not only that, to bring foreign manufacturers such as Samsung is right now manufacturing some of their most latest phones in one of these technology parks. So, that's one. So that is kind of like a made in Bangladesh campaign, where, all these tech gadgets are going to be made in Bangladesh and will be exported. So that's one. The other one is definitely the startup ecosystem, because in every single facet, you can plug in a startup because they are agile and they have innovative ideas. And if it works, then, you can scale up. So that's how our Startup Bangladesh Limited, this VC fund, has been kind of launched. So startups are everywhere, and the verticals that we are thinking about is agriculture, and then education technology, health tech, frontier technology, AI, robotics, and machine learning, and things like that, and also logistics, and mental well-being is also a big factor that is being kind of highlighted in our national plans and also the ICT roadmap.
Very cool. Very cool. Kevin and Takemoto-san, I want to say that in the United Kingdom, when I was working for the Prime Minister, we had a very special event, the London Olympics, which we used to attract startups from all over the world as a big kickstart opportunity for startup and digital. We are so excited around the world that Japan has given the go-ahead for the Olympics again. It's a very good chance, I think, to shine a light on what Japan is doing. I mean, for either of you, do you think that it will be possible, or do you think COVID will slow that down?
Well, we are now struggling with this, okay?
Yeah.
And we are strong, eager to hold the Tokyo Olympic Games next year. However, the COVID-19 is very strong, become very stronger and stronger. Therefore, maybe the next summer, this COVID-19 will become very small and weak. Okay?
I see.
And we still have a strong desire to hold that, but we have to devise how to defend ourselves, how to defend the player from this pandemic disease. Okay, therefore, we have to use technology.
Yes.
Yeah, and the idea.
Well, we are very happy to share with you. We have just
Thank you.
launched our competition in the UK for finding COVID beating solutions for travel and places. So, which means schools, stadiums, anything. And we will invest in these companies, and we want them to go global. So if we find any good solutions, we will share them with you, because I think the whole world will want to know about this.
Thank you. Thank you. What's more, in 2025, we are going to hold an exposition in Osaka, the second largest city in this country. Yeah.
I remember going to Osaka, but tell me more about the exposition.
Exposition.
The World Expo 25.
World Exposition, yes.
So what is the ambition for that?
We are going to show the high technologies in the near future. For example, flying a taxi.
Wow, Ontoni. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm coming.
Yeah. Please, we welcome you.
That's amazing. That's really, really good. Kevin, what do you think the priorities will be for Japan as it faces this transformation for digital and fighting COVID?
Well, I'm actually not exactly. I personally think that COVID-19 has been overplayed, and given the fact that the death rate and the severe cases are really going down. But however, we're counting numbers of positive cases, and the numbers are proportionally inversed, and we know that we have more because we practice more tests. We practice PCR tests, and then as a result, you get more number of people being. These days they call it infected, but they used to call it in Japan as well. On news channels they would say positive cases, but now somehow we kind of changed the word to infected, which is kind of. I mean, I'm not exactly a conspiracy theorist, or I don't buy all those stuff, but. Then again, but there's so many questions raised to this.
Well, there is a language around that. You're quite right, which sends a very different signal. It's a very interesting observation that you make there.
Yes.
I think that's quite interesting. Perhaps the government might think of creating a taxonomy and a guidance for us to acknowledge but then emerge. That might be a great
and then some argue that the vaccines now it's being prepared and then ready to be given to people, and of course the government subsidy will buy a whole bunch of it to give it to distribute to everybody else, to everybody, and that alone is a big business. So there's a feeling of some kind of business schemes or interest, or it's really hard to say. But
you're always going to get the conspiracy theorists, and I think that the vast majority of people understand the amazing benefits that vaccine have given to society in the world,
and the PCR test as well.
Yeah, no, that's true. Tina, I wanted to ask that from our observations, we've seen that Bangladesh really has, when you think about it, been managing COVID pretty well comparatively. So that's that. I mean, it's quite a difficult challenge, but nonetheless, it's important, and that's one important issue. But the other issue, which I think you hinted at, is sustainability and the ESGs. How does that propagate into the work you're doing? Can you do you within your work and Startup Bangladesh focus on sustainability and ESGs as a sector?
Of course. I mean, that is like an unwritten rule, right? Because the country wants to accomplish the SDG 2030 goals, and that's not just a check mark. That's because as a country, if you want to enter as a high income country, and if you want to sustain that, you need to have a country which is inclusive, for everybody, it's sustainable, whatever the programs and the lifestyle is, and also it needs to be humane, right? So these are things that is kind of sitting on top of all the business plans and the other national plans. So with that in mind, of course, when we are looking at our selections for investments, for example, very small example from what we do from Tata Bangladesh Limited, we actually also look at, okay, these are the startups that we are looking at for as possible investments, and what type of SDG impact are they going to bring? For example, right now, one of a big trust factor is fintech, edutech, health tech, right? So in all of this, quite a few SDG are going to be met. I mean, zero poverty, no one left behind, right? So yes, absolutely. And one of the things is very important to gender parity. Also keep that.
あとはなんか日本が
高本さんどうぞ。
イノベーションでどういうことをやってるか具体的に例えばムーンショットとか。
Yes. I'd like to talk about our effort to have a moonshot program, okay? And we have our country received 24 people received the Nobel Prize already, and in case of the United States, maybe 180 or so. So, but the Japan is the second in the world. China is only one. Korea 0. So compared with those situations, Japanese technology is very much advanced. However, now we have not have a strong confidence in developing this technology. Therefore, we have to give a good salary to the researcher and those people.
Rewards.
Yeah.
So incentives, yeah?
Yeah, incentive. I have a grant from the University of California at Berkeley. The professor of this university were given 4,000 万, right?
400,000 US.
400,000 US dollars. But in case of the Tokyo University, professor,
120,000.
120,000. Maybe one third. This is the reality. Because that very brilliant young people will go out from. Yeah.
They will leave the country. Brain drain.
Yeah. Brain drain.
That's very interesting. So I was hired by the UK government to reverse the brain drain, and we created a program to find the brightest and the best and attract them back to the UK. It's a very successful program. It's worked very well. And I actually, Dinis Guarda from Open Business Council knows about that program because I gave him information, and I strongly recommend it. But what's wonderful is that as a former minister is that you are highlighting the challenges and you're not frightened to say so, which is wonderful. So we want to encourage you to do more.
Thank you.
Because it does take these change. But can I ask you, as someone that was responsible, a minister for science and technology until only 2 months ago, how difficult is it for government departments to embrace change? For example, is it possible that government can say all government departments should use blockchain by a certain date and create efficiency? Is it possible, or is it very difficult?
It's a bit difficult, but it's possible. I myself are paying a strong effort to do that. We are asking so many people in so many agencies and different department of the government, you should use a blockchain or some other thing, CBDC or some other thing. China is now experiencing CBDC.
Yes.
The Bank of Japan was quite against until last year, but very recently they changed their attitude. They are now trying to make a research and trying to experience
activate
the CBDC.
Yeah, we want to encourage that because we believe that it could transform international trade. CBDC could remove a lot of friction in trade. So it's a very interesting idea. We hope it will be successful.
I think everything will depend on the relationship between demand and supply. Okay, people want to have very convenient money, and if it's not always supported by the government, if it's usable between the one person and one person, both of them are giving a consent. Okay, everything's okay. Nowadays, people are changing the goods, potato with the other people. Barter economy.
Yeah.
Therefore, Bitcoin coins,
cryptocurrency
is a kind of
barter economy.
Yeah. We hope that the technologies behind cryptocurrency will gradually become mainstream, and mainly blockchain. But because, very important reason, it potential for creating trust where trust is difficult, and efficiency where efficiency is difficult. So we are very hopeful for that.
Yeah,
but
Eric,
it takes policy making.
Yeah, but Eric, cryptocurrency and CBDC is two different. It's apples and oranges. Like it's a different thing. CBDC is like issued by the central bank. It's actually money, the real money. Whereas crypto is more or less a speculation. It's more like,
well, one is decentralized and one is centralized, and but it is interesting because I joined the Bank of England consultations on CBDC, and they are asking the questions whether it should be centralized or whether it should be decentralized as a philosophy. And I think the biggest fear that any central government has with CBDC is the potential for systemic disruption to the economy. So those controls have to be in place, but it's early in that space, and we will watch it with great.
Yes, Eric. When obviously with COVID-19, the whole world, the central banks are easing their interest rates and quantitative easing and all that stuff. That if you decentralize the digital currencies worldwide, that will not happen. That cannot be taking place. I mean, it's not gonna. That's why we need to have something, a sort of like a go-between of a centralized and a decentralized money for the world. Otherwise, there's no way that we can control the sentiment or the business sentiment or the economy of the world. So that's why there's a lot of, and then you have to sort of like bring in the China factor as well, and maybe the world might become like divided into two different factions: United States allies and the Chinese allies. And so there's a lot of moving parts right now as we move forward into.
Well, we will watch it with great interest, and it's very good to see Japan and many countries discussing this at the moment. Tina, do you know if there have been discussions and exploration and consultation about this in Bangladesh?
I have to say that there is the discussion. Of course, there is, but in a limited scale, but we are looking into, and this is just in a very, very initial stage, that, looking into a digital currency. So, but, I'm not the expert on that side. So,
No.
not much I can
No
share.
worries. Well, actually, while I have you, I want to ask you a question. If we, and in this section, I wanted to ask us to either perhaps make some predictions or maybe what we hope might happen. So considering that society, and Tina, if I can ask you first, considering that society and the economy has taken such a tough impact because of COVID, what do we think, for example, the startup society can do to help recover that? And how long do you think it'll take before it returns to where it was pre-COVID?
I'm so glad that you asked me this question, because now I can show off about my startups, because I can tell you how the startups have really got plugged into the system. And, e-commerce site totally exploded, e-commerce business exploded because, the lockdowns, the startups were doing these deliveries. The FMCG startups, the online stores like Chaldal is one of them. Their business exploded. The logistics, like Patao, they were doing, these delivery services, and also, so these, they have really plugged in. The mental well-being startups, they were taking, such as Mayapa and Moner Bondhu, they were taking like thousands of calls. Education startups, Startup Bangladesh Limited right now has about 20 education startups, edtech startups, who are providing content to the education ministry for their national curriculum, online content. So, they have plugged in, and
Tina, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I've just had a signal that we're going to lose the minister soon. So I just want to get one last word from him before he goes. But thank you so much, Tina, for that. We're very ambitious. Takemoto-san, final question for you, which is, if your ambitions for Japan and society are successful, I think we will see a good chance. It's a good chance to recover quickly, but it will take time. If you were to give a message to your colleagues around the world in similar roles to yourself, what would it be?
Well, our country, in some sense, an advanced country as far as the technology is concerned. So, under this situation, I mean, the whole the world is covered with COVID-19. We can survive from this very severe situation. So, for example, the death rate of COVID-19 is very, very small compared with European country and the United States. I don't know the reason why. However, it's a true. So, we come out from this very severe situation. So, but more, our society is very aged society, maybe the one of the most aged country in the world. So we can survive from this very severe situation. This experience, this technology will be studied by some other countries in the future. I think we can contribute to the health of world people.
Thank you. We would like that very much. And actually, I want to thank Open Business Council, because their number one goal is to share knowledge like this between the world. And so I'm very keen supporter of that. So if I may, I would like to thank all the panelists for kindly participating. Thank you so much, Tina. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Kevin. Much appreciated. And I really look forward to coming to Japan and going in your flying taxi. Thank you very much.
Please come to Japan.
By all means.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you again. See you again. See you again.
Thank you. Thank you. See you again.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Dinis is speaking with someone.
Okay.
Apologies. So thank you so much for joining me. So I welcome right now. So we finished right now the first panel with Minister Takemoto and Tina. There was a very exciting way of looking at two very divergent economies. So Japanese economy, the third biggest country and economy in the world in terms of economy, and as well Bangladesh, which is in terms of population one of the biggest countries in the world, and as well an emerging economy with a lot of capacity to go forward. So I welcome this panel. They will be precisely talking about continuation of this previous panel. So we're going to be talking about the global government, business and startup tech landscape post-COVID, challenge and opportunities. So I'll start slowly, just highlighting a bit of each of the speakers. So I welcome Alexander Bornyakov, Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation for Ukraine. And Jabeen, we saw previously, so Managing Director and CEO of Startup Bangladesh, part of the ICT Government Minister Department. Trang Van Tang, they will join us through a video, Deputy Minister of Science and Technology of Vietnam. And Kieu My Duan, that is joining as well from Vietnam and is working with the Minister of Science and Technology. And she's as well behind the Vietnam Digital Transformation Frontier Tech organization. She will tell us a bit more about her. So we have a very diverse, and of course I cannot forget, we have as well on the panel Luisa Rubio Rivas, that is the only non-governmental person here, but is as well leading a global organization, part of the Telefonica Telecom group, that is WireX, which is one of the biggest accelerators of technology in the world, that has been doing fantastic work almost all the world in terms of accelerating and creating an ecosystem for startups. So I would like, if possible, for each of you to do a small presentation, because it's great. I'm looking forward to hear from you, and probably starting by the ladies. We have 3 ladies, so Alex will work there as well, but I think it's a very diverse panel as well. I don't know, Luisa, probably start by you, because Tina introduced herself, and then, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. So thank you, Dinis. Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone from Spain. I'm very grateful to participate in this amazing panel representing Wayra and Telefonica. So as Dinis said, Telefonica is one of the biggest telecommunication companies in the world. We have around 350 million customers in our markets in Europe and in Latin America, operating in 12 countries, presence in 24, more than 100,000 employees. So as you can imagine, innovation and collaboration between startups, corporations, governments, it's something crucial for a company such as Telefonica. We need others to innovate. That's not something we can do only by ourselves. So that's why we have built a quite relevant open innovation unit, of which Wayra is part, to open Telefonica to startups, corporations, governments, to different partners. And we have been doing this almost for 10 years, but we do it not because it's trendy or because that's what we should do in terms of corporate social responsibility. We do it because it makes sense in terms of business and in terms of impact. And just to give you an idea in terms of economic impact, last year we made more than 35 million in business only in Spain, between the startups in our portfolio, Telefonica, and our customers. So you can also think, for example, in terms of employment, we have invested in Telefonica in more than 900 startups if we consider all the investment vehicles that we have. So if each startup has 20 employees on average, just to be conservative, the impact is huge. So of course, it's a big challenge. As the title of this panel starts, but it also represents a great opportunity. It requires a lot of effort, but the outcome you could get could be terrific. And that's how we see it from Wayra and from Telefonica. And that's why we have decided to challenge ourselves again in this crazy year 2020, launching this new project I'm leading, Wayra X. So Wayra X is Telefonica's digital open innovation hub to invest in pure digital startups which are developing products that could become massive anywhere in the world. So this is a very ambitious investment project with a new investment strategy to generate collaboration between startups, governments, and other corporations. And here I would like to point out to different ways that we are managing this collaboration. First of all, related to the scouting efforts, because it's crucial to detect the best talent, no matter where is it located, to have like strong relations with different partners, with governments especially, to have a good overview about what's going on in their local ecosystems to detect the best talent, and also to help our startups when we make a new investment to grow and to enter into different markets. So I'll be more than happy to engage with all the people connecting today to the event and to explore potential synergies and solving new challenges together.
Thank you, and I think it's a great example, because with 300 million customers worldwide, you reach as much as a lot of countries and big economies, and as well one of the biggest corporations in the planet. So I want to go to Vietnam. So Duan Kimiko, as you are known. So Vietnam is a very fast-growing economy as well, with 100 million people and very young people. And you've been making the bridge between the startup ecosystem in Vietnam, but as well all over the countries around that, but as well in Europe. But as well, you work with the government. So can you give us a bit of a context in terms of both the initiatives of the government and as well what you've been doing in terms of the work between the startup? You did a big festival with the government recently. So I want to highlight that. Please let us know.
In terms of like the upcoming initiatives from Vietnam. So actually, in Vietnam, we have like the saying that actually we are like the next hottest destination in Southeast Asia. So just after Indonesia, now Vietnam is like the next destination. And my name is Kimiko. I'm one of the top 10 most influential women in tech by Analytics Insight. And I founded Yellow Blocks as like the first emerging technology consulting firm to connect Vietnam and the world, specifically for frontier technologies and deep tech. So for Yellow Blocks Green Team, the last 3 years, we have built the strategic partnerships with Vietnam government, Singaporean government, Austrian and Australian government. And our focus is to bridge the gap between like the investors when they come into Vietnam, to have like a whole ecosystem overview, and also to provide the market insights for Vietnam who want to go to different countries by partnerships. So in our network currently, we have like multiple biggest telcos in Vietnam, biggest technology companies in Vietnam, and then we talk on the government level when we discuss when we introduce them for the higher partnership level. So later on, Dinis is going to show you one of the video. Unfortunately, our Deputy Minister, Mr. Tung, cannot join our discussion today, but he has pre-recorded a sharing, and in which we will showcase some of the Tech Fest. So Tech Fest is one big initiative that we started in Vietnam 6 years ago, when like the startup word is actually the startup definition is not yet very well defined in Vietnam. So Tech Fest is like the biggest technology festival and conferences that prolong from 3 to 4 days. And before that, we have a lot of activation and event in different provinces. We have 64 provinces in Vietnam, and we gather on the top of these 64 provinces and then gather in the biggest Tech Fest. And our Tech Fest just finished 2 weeks ago, in which Dinis was also an honorary speaker. And apparently Tech Fest by joining TechFest for the last 6 years in terms of like being the co-host and also one of the strategic supporters, I have seen a lot of improvement in Vietnam ecosystem, and I think this is also a very big effort from the Vietnam government when they for the last 3 years we have seen like very big initiative. We have the whole project named H44. The decree H44 that states out that this is the year for startup, and Ministry of Science and Technology actually have like the honor from the Prime Minister to say that from 2020, Ministry of Science and Technology is one of our focus in terms of our digital strategy to increase the economic growth of the country. So now every effort is being put into how to increase like the competitiveness of the whole ecosystem landscape, and more we are more interested into like the potential of deep tech and frontier tech in terms of smart cities. So we also have a lot of big projects going on right now.
Thank you so much, Kimiko. So Tina, in Bangladesh, you mentioned a bit before, but you didn't go too much in your work in the Startup Bangladesh Limited work, and as well working with the minister and with the government to push the startup and technology ecosystem in Bangladesh. And Bangladesh is a very big population, very young, and as well you come from Silicon Valley, so you work in one of the biggest corporations in the world as well. So a bit of that background that the previous fireside there was not so much time, but just highlighting that because I think it's interesting. Both you and Alex have a very similar background, but I think it's interesting to hear that as well, from Silicon Valley to right now leading an emerging company, and you are one of the biggest corporations in the world.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dinis, and hello, good afternoon to my esteemed panelists here. It was really nice hearing Luisa Rubio's story. That they want to connect to the startups, right? Because they will bring the solution. So I would love to reach out to you later after our session, because we also have telcos who are doing the same thing. They have accelerators who are supporting the telcos. They are supporting accelerators. Actually, they themselves have accelerators where they're bringing all kind of incubating all kind of solutions by startups, such as the Telenor accelerator, which is GP accelerator, Grameen Phone, and then our ventures, that is Robi Aziara accelerator. And it was really good, listening to Miss Humi Duan, the Vietnam story. And it's kind of similar in Bangladesh. And Dinis, if you don't mind, I'll just share the Bangladesh story. I think, it will really flow well. So Bangladesh startup story is really started about 7-8 years ago, and really got traction about probably 4 or 5 years ago. So when we started Startup Bangladesh campaign, initially this was like a grant platform. It's called Idea Innovation Design Entrepreneurship Academy, IDEA. So it's a grant platform. And under that platform, about 4 years ago, we so far funded 157 startups, and it's ongoing. But what has happened is, at that time, there were a couple of accelerators, like I just said, GP Accelerator and one more from one of the other telco. And then Startup Dhaka was another one. But then when the government comes in, right, where there is, it's a very nascent ecosystem, the private industry gets very psyched up. So at that time, we did a competition call for solutions for startups, and then we got about 273 submissions. But now, we just finished Ideathon with the Korean government and Idea project. There was, I read it yesterday, there is like about more than 3,000 submissions. So you can imagine that how sensitized the ecosystem have become. And as far as some real number goes, in last 5 years, the startups, some of the big startups brought in about almost close to 280 million foreign direct investment in the country. Small number when you compare to the Valley, but a very big accomplishment, achievement for a country where the ecosystem itself is only 7 years old. And then, some of the big startups I said, like Patao and Shohoj, Shopups, and then Sheba XYZ, they together, the ecosystem employed about 1.5 million people. So these are impressive numbers, right? And now there is about 42 accelerators. Almost every single university has some sort of entrepreneurship club or a startup type of club. And there is about 2,500 healthy startups that is in the system. The real numbers are a lot more, but the kind of active startups are about 2,500. And so the ecosystem is really robust and is on fire. And now Startup Bangladesh, our venture capital fund, comes in, and we are right now in the process of making real equity investments, and this is going to make history. Because that government venture-owned venture capital funds are not that many in the world, and Bangladesh being still a very green country, although doing very well, progressing very, very well. But Bangladesh taking an initiative like that is really, really, I would say, amazing and awesome. It's a landmark. So I know that we have all these panelists here, and I would love to engage in partnership, exploring what we can do and collaborate, in this landscape. Thank you, Dinis.
Thank you so much, Tina. And I think you have a very unique spot that Alexandra shares as well. So, Alexandra, Ukraine is particularly interesting because it has 1.5 million companies, and it's actually one of the most scientific, or at least in terms of science, but as well in terms of technology advanced countries. Although it has, especially during the last year, has been hearing for a lot of different reasons. But I think in terms of the tech ecosystem is one of the most cutting edge in terms of developing talent and a lot of different things. So can you tell us a bit about what you've been doing both, and I know that you have a career as well academic and as well in business, what the government has been doing, and of course you're leading that efforts. And I know you're doing very innovative things in terms of attracting international investment, but as well putting the ecosystem and working with big corporations and so forth.
Yeah, thank you. And hi, everyone. It's a pleasure talking and sharing experience, of course. Look, well, first of all, you mentioned the ecosystem and the talents. So just to give a brief overview, Ukrainian IT industry, together with, I would say, together with the startups, is more than 200,000 people. So those are mostly engineers. We have just like 15,000 companies just specifically focused on IT and startups, and there are really literally a couple great stories came from Ukraine, like GitHub. It's a Ukrainian-based company. Recently, there was a company called Reface AI. It hit the tops of the App Store and Google Play market with the artificial intelligence solution that but it was it kind of funny application because it just puts your face in on the celebrities' videos, but they reached like 100 million downloads in just a week or so. So and recently they raised money from Anderson Horowitz. So and also Grammarly is also like a unicorn startup from Ukraine. So that there are a number of great stories that came out from Ukraine, and we obviously trying to do more. In terms of what government does, that's let me just give you a couple examples. So the biggest one is that Ukrainian government created a fund. It called Ukrainian Startup Fund, and it basically has two goals. First of all, is just give grants from 25 to early stage and 50,000 for a little bit later stage startups. It's just a grant, so you don't have to get it back. And less than a year, they got like 2,000, almost 2,500 applications. So the government now in Ukraine, government is the biggest angel investor. So that's what we did for the last year, and we're very, very proud of it. And the second thing that was part of also Tina mentioned that I heard a couple times about accelerators and incubators. So that there's also a weak spot in Ukraine. There were just a couple of them, and You mentioned my background. Before I started a government job, I was in a business, and in 2012, I started with my partners our own small private venture fund, and we were in 2012. We were among first, I would say, 3 incubators in the country. Later, 2014, there was like a growth of the number, but then in 2014 there was a war with Russia, so everything just went down. So and in a couple of days, of course, it's restored to some extent. But when we started Ukrainian Startup, we put the goal that we need not just only give grants, but also create an ecosystem, and incubators and accelerators are part of ecosystem, like essential part of it. So we decided to also like stimulate and invite a couple big incubators in the country. So far we agreed with US MAC, with Startup Wise Guys, and one actually from the Spain, I forgot his name, but right now we have like around 15 to 20 startup accelerators, incubators, big, also partially by government, and that created better environment for even early stage and for people who just invent ideas. So that's like the major thing that we do. Also, now we're coming up with a huge project. It's still in the process, but we kind of decided that we need to make something like very similar to I don't know what the best example, like a special economic zone. So and we call it DSCD. So that's basically virtual business country, where we decided to implement kind of like sort of a English law elements, because we didn't have like convertible notes, we didn't have safe agreements, like liquidation preferences, non-solicit agreement, non-compete, and other stuff that is very common in the world. So this is what we do as a government. So we decided to put in our legislation, in our laws, those terms, so investor from outside could come to Ukraine, invest in startups, and don't waste, because we have a lot of USSR legacy. That's obviously from like times 20, 30 years ago. So we just pushing this away and trying to substitute with things that investor companies or business from Silicon Valley, from all around the world get used to. So that's basically like a very brief general overview. I won't take much time, more time. Thank you. So that would be all.
No, congratulations to all of us. It's amazing the work you're doing. I think it shows the dynamics. And sometimes you only think about Silicon Valley or even London, where I am, but there's a massive diversity and as well dynamics going on. So Luisa, as leading a global, one of the biggest telecoms, and as well with an audience of 350 million plus people, and as well Wire has been one of the biggest accelerators for the last 10 years or more. So it's been Wire in general. So you've been doing from Spain to Latin America. Here in the UK, you've been doing as well a very big work. And you've been as well as, from what I see, I was actually advisor from one of your, actually for 1 year, the last year with the UK. And one of the things I understood that you do particularly interesting is that you bridge a lot of universities, corporations, and the government as well. So that's, and big corporations as well. So you have a huge network ecosystem, which is key for the governments and for the business, which is the panel purpose as well. So, and I see that everyone is trying to do this, and I see actually a lot of synergies between all of you. But can you tell us a bit about this work? And I know that WireX is a new kind of dynamic that you're trying to push bigger, but you've been doing, I think it's interesting to see, because you've been, in terms of geolocation is amazing, because you've been from Spain, UK that I mentioned, but Latin America, and as well other countries around the world.
Yeah, that's very true. And you know, Telefonica is a Spanish company, but we also operate in Europe and in Latin America. And in terms of, you know, startup ecosystem and, you know, everything, we think that we need to be able to find great startups, no matter where they are located, you know? So that's the reason why for us it's super important to build a super powerful ecosystem, you know, by engaging with different partners, you know, because as I said at the beginning, that's not something that we can do just by ourselves. we truly believe that we need to be open to new ideas, new ways of working, different ways of thinking, different inputs to generate a powerful ecosystem, and also to be able to create a relevant value proposition for Telefónica's customers and for the societies where we are operating. So, as you mentioned, we have many different collaborations with universities to be able to stay close to students, to start helping them to generate new ideas, to challenge their plans, because many times I remember, like not long time ago when I was at the university, everybody wants to go to a big corporation and having a good job. But now I'm really happy when I go to my university, or when I'm having conversations with students, that now the cool thing is creating your own company, be your own boss. And that's something that requires a lot of work from different partners and different institutions on a local but also on a global level, to give different tools to the entrepreneurs in each country to be able to develop their own ideas.
No, completely. And I think it's quite interesting that a big corporation, but as well working very close with the university sector, with other partners, both technology and governments. So, Kimiko, in Vietnam, you are working as well as both the different hats that you have from a young entrepreneur. So you're quite young as well. So I think it's interesting to hear a bit of the dynamic startup ecosystem, because we don't know much, I think, unless you are in Vietnam, about what is happening in Vietnam. So a bit of that context, and as well, how you doing these relationships, because Vietnam is quite technology savvy. And it, like you mentioned, is a fast-growing economy, but they're very technology savvy. But there's a lot of different things. So a bit of this ecosystem, if you could tell us a bit about that, about how you see this from the different apps that you've been working.
Okay, so before I share my perspective, Dinis, can we share like the quick video, the 3 minutes video from the
so I will have.
Yeah, so I can talk more, like explaining after that context video.
Just give me a second. I was trying to put it on the end because it will probably disrupt a bit this. Can you put it in the end, because I don't. It will just pushing this will take us like 2-3 minutes, and I don't want to keep the rhythm. Let's put it in the end if it's okay for you, Kimiko. You can because it doesn't stop the rhythm. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So for us, I think it's very interesting what we hear from Louisa and so on. And actually, interestingly, this year in Vietnam, because like I'm Ministry of Science and Technology, this year we have a new deputy, the new minister. And actually, the new minister of Ministry of Science and Technology in Vietnam, actually he was like the ex-head of like the biggest university in Vietnam. So this is quite a big change. And also like for the Tech Fest, after 5 years, this is the first time that we can gather like really the Prime Minister and the whole Parliament to go to this Tech Fest, because usually it will be, if the MOSD is the host, then they will invite different ministers from different, whoever is going to apply digital transformation into their daily operation. But this is the first year that we can invite the Prime Minister, and the venue for this year is actually the National Economics University. So this is a very, I think the acceptance and like the statement that we believe that the core root to the thrivingness of the startup ecosystem is in terms of like developing the next generation, and with the university R&D and building like the next generation. So in Vietnam, like the dynamics between startups and so on is for the last 4 years is mostly heavily based on the investment wave. So, for example, 4 years ago, there was a wave of investment into a food delivery app and into e-commerce. And then 3 years ago, then we have like Grab entering Vietnam in terms of ride hailing. So there was a wave of like grab hailing. And then last year, it was a wave of fintech in terms of e-wallet. So every year there's a topic. And there's, it's kind of like the trend is driven more on like where the investment flow. But I think like this year, it's more like based on the long-term observation and also in terms of the strategy that the government for now we start to build an e-portal for startup ecosystem where we map out the different stakeholders. And for the startup, we actually for now we have around like 20,000 active startups in the country. But then like we start to map them out into like early stage and series A, B, C. Then like it's really structured. The structure just got in like this year. And our focus starting from now, because we come from a country of 100 million population, and like the e-commerce in here, actually for the last 3 years, it's grown like more than 300%. So you can see like we have like a huge population. So that's a very good opportunity for data and for like shaping the new generation of customer behaviors. So basically for now, like the next trend for startups is more about like how we can tap into those kind of customer insights into social commerce. So it's one step up from like the normal e-commerce, but then like the social commerce and how we can gain like the data insight and marketing automation. So that's the trend. And the next year trend, it will be more into like smart cities and IoT device infrastructure. So basically, I think we can share a lot in terms of like developing countries, and Vietnam just just passed its middle income range last year. So this is also a very critical time for us how to strategize for the next 5 years to use digital strategy and innovation as a way to make us not fall into the trap of the middle income. We are not staying here forever, but we need to like aim for the sustainable and future. Yeah.
Fantastic. So Tina, I think there's a lot of parallels with the Bangladesh economy, and I think you have, like you mentioned before, a massive dynamic and entrepreneurial spirit. I think the number of I checked different numbers, but the number of companies in Bangladesh is around 5 million or 10 million. I think the numbers go a bit, but it's quite amazing the number of SMEs, micro SMEs. So how do you see your work? And I know that, for instance, one of the things that both Vietnam, but especially as well Bangladesh, given that you have a massive population, is that you manage very well COVID-19 and all the challenge related, and you have a very strong strategy in terms of accelerating during this time the work that you're doing, both with the Startup Bangladesh Limited Fund, but as well with all the ecosystem. So tell us a bit about that, because I think it's very important. Well, here in the UK, we didn't seem to manage it so well as you guys have been managing, and the UK is not even half of the population of you. So I think we have to learn as well. So sometimes the concept of emerging economies is very subjective. So I would like to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Dinis. I was listening to Kimiko, and it's really impressive. And I feel like that we are all in this peer group. So that makes you very comfortable. So anyway, talking about what's happening in Bangladesh, what we did during COVID. We talked about how the e-commerce and the ed techs and they have really exploded and the market expanded. But looking forward, right? I mean, COVID-19 will go away, but what it really brought in and which is going to stay is that it has thrusted a kind of accelerated digitalization, right? So something that we would have done in 10 years just pushed us half a decade, which is fantastic. So many of the lifestyle changes is going to stay probably like these Zoom calls. I'm sure that there is going to be some tail end of this, which is work from home, flexible work hours, things like that will need these technological solutions. But looking forward as a country and our ICT roadmap, what we did is during the COVID last 7-8 months, we took this very ambitious project of coming with a COVID-19 ICT roadmap, which is basically looking at where is our where are our weaknesses, like obviously the crisis in public health, and then also the connectivity to provide all kinds of services. Like many countries, we also face those challenges, but we looked at it as an opportunity. So looking at those as an opportunities, we are now focusing on agri-tech, edu-tech, and then also the health tech, and also the frontier technology areas, where we are going to focus our technological development. But the first and foremost, is the universal access to digital devices, internet connectivity and affordability, and then also digital literacy. So this is something that is going to be the motherboard, where if this is taken care of, then all these different verticals that we are I just mentioned, the citizens can get connected with a digital device, and then they can get all these different type of services digitally, especially the government services. 2,500 government services, we want to make sure the citizens are getting digitally. So this is creating a lot of opportunity for our startups, right? So digital commerce, we have the logistics startups, the agri-tech startups. There is a big thrust on MSMEs, because they are one of the largest employment generators in Bangladesh. They have about 87%. I think that's the number. But it's a large number of employment that is being generated by MSMEs. So also in that case, we need to have fintech, right? Because you want to make sure that these SMEs are accessing, the payment system is digitally done, and also not all of them have a bank account. And then there is this credit rating, alternative credit rating. So all of this is basically going to create a huge trust in the startup ecosystem, and with that, and with Startup Bangladesh Limited, and government has some other technological plans, like I mentioned, BHTPA. There is also the special economic zone. I think Alex mentioned something like that, a special zone. Bangladesh actually has that, and that is, the garments factory is a big sector in using that zone. So what's going to happen is, we are going to create not just the startup ecosystem, but the angel investors will come. The banks are going to create into venture capital funds, which is going to provide the funding. So the Startup Bangladesh Limited, this platform, these initiatives of the government, they're just a catalyst, okay? And the ultimate goal is for the private industry to get engaged and really ignite the ecosystem. So that's where we are right now.
No, amazing, and I think it's congratulations to all the work done. So I think what I see is that the dynamics are amazing. So Alex, I know that Ukraine, with 43 million people, is still quite a big population, has been really on the cutting edge of technology, and even with all the challenge, because like you mentioned, just came out of a war, and you came out of a lot of things, but you have a very, very dynamic and a lot of cooperation between the economics, like you mentioned, the government is the biggest business angel. She's a great one, and I think congratulations for that. I think all governments should follow that. So one of the things I saw that you were very successful is the relationship with big corporations that have actually technology departments in the country. And as well, there's a lot of relationships on that. And I know that you've been as well creating a lot of policies to accelerate that. You mentioned different areas. I would like to hear about that work.
Well, in terms of like relationship with you mean a relationship with government and business, right?
Yeah.
In terms of
and as well with
IT
big corporations.
yeah.
I know that big global corporations are having IT and tech departments over there in Ukraine.
Yeah, sure. Well, like even more than 60% of Ukrainian IT is they are software outsourcing companies. So they basically work for most of their Fortune 500 companies in the world. Like couple examples, like a lot of stuff from Boeing being done in Ukraine. Deutsche Bank operations IT system is being built in Ukraine. Then if you sit in any car in the world, like Mercedes, Volkswagen, Audi, BMW, all the computer software is being built in Ukraine too. I mean, what you push on the screen is being built by Ukrainian engineers, in all these cars, and many more. I mean, there's so many things. And of course, we as a government, we're trying to do our best in order to make those relationship closer. But mostly, this is about creating a safer environment. And couple, like what again Tina mentioned, very transparent and easy labor code, because they just want to be flexible, and people travel all the time. Well, before COVID, obviously, yeah, and they want to be like moving from one project to another very easy, and that's something that we're trying to come up with as a policies. Also, it's a matter of taxes. I think we made one of the lowest tax rate for IT industry. It basically like 5% plus some social expense around less than 2%. So basically it's like 7% on the labor taxes and very low corporate tax, which is very close. I mean, it's almost zero. So IT industry in our country, one of the top priorities, and specifically for the president and the cabinet minister. And we believe that we can grow it 2 times in just a couple of years, maybe 2 years, and involve like half a million people, highly experienced training engineers in Ukraine. So that's like a major goal that I'm in charge of, basically. And another matter that I'm totally on board with Tina again, that COVID actually created a lot of opportunities, because like in Ukraine before COVID, everything was on a paper. And everything was offline. So once COVID hits, and we also we implemented lockdown on the spring. So our Minister of Digital Transformation immediately started doing a lot of things, and we had total support of Parliament. So we moved all the interaction between government authorities online. That was the first step. Like. We started able to work completely online. Then we also created a platform called DIA Business, which is basically a platform for business to interact between each other. And then called DIA Education. That's a platform for increasing digital literacy. And that's the funny thing. The expectations for once we made a plan like. That would be really great if we can involve at least like 50,000 people in a couple of months after start. But once we released it, it was like 120,000 people. And now in just half a year, we actually tested and give digital literacy courses to more than 300,000 people. And of course, there was involvement of business for that. And I don't know, there's like, there were a couple companies that volunteered at the first place, but then they decided to give their services, of course, for money. So this opportunity created a demand for IT services. So another maybe small example, but this is also like before COVID, if you got fired and you want to get government support, you had to go to the authorities, sign forms and everything. But now you just have an application. So you press the button and you're on the list for the government support. So this is how and it's actually being done by commercial. I mean, by the business with the help of the business. So I haven't seen changes coming so quickly for years, and I know that COVID is something that we're trying to really get rid of, and I totally support it. But for government and citizen interaction, that gave us really huge opportunity to switch, to move forward. And maybe the last thing I want to let you know that our president and vice prime minister, my boss, he's also the minister of digital transformation. They announced a project to, in a year, go completely paperless. So in 1 year from now, well, actually next fall, so less than a year, government won't be able to request any paper from the citizen in Ukraine. So everything's go just paperless. So that's, I think maybe I was trying to address your question, but I hope I did it. Thank you.
You did it very well. Congratulations, first of all. I think we need that in the UK, I think in the US, in a lot of other countries, because I think what you're doing is cutting edge. And I think this experience is great. You can share it between you, but there's a lot of synergies. And it's really, I think special digital literacy is one of my fights, because I think we have a challenge for us. I've been working with big governments and big corporations where people don't know how to use even a computer properly. So this is actually at all levels, and it's really a big challenge. But for instance, yesterday we had a panel with some of the leading minds in AI, and that's probably my next question, is that we are going very, very fast. So what you're doing is the way to go, and this cutting edge, but there's not the other way. And I think if you look at a quote recently from Harari, from the 20 lessons for the 20th century, is that we're going to have economies that will become data colonies of other economies if you're not strong on this. So it's a provocation, but I think this is critical. So Luisa, being in one of the biggest global conglomerates and corporations in technology, but as well in telecoms, and as well being multinational. So you have in one end the Latin America experience that is emerging markets. Then you have Europe, where you have UK and Spain, there are leading economies as well. So can you tell us a bit how you've been bridging both the technology sector as a company that is a technology provider and one of the biggest telecoms, but as well on the WireX, where you're doing a lot of trends, you're working with some of the leading minds and as well personalities. So, and as well between the different economies, because one thing is UK, the other thing is Latin America, where we are the biggest telecom provider. So a bit of that overview, I think is interesting as well to bridge with everyone is doing, and a bit of context about COVID-19. I think it affected everyone. I would like as well how you are tackling that.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, the good thing about being a multinational company is that we are able to generate synergies, you know, between countries, different organizations and areas inside of Telefonica. So the way we see it is that we want to be able to generate wealth, not only for Telefonica, but also for the countries and the societies where we operate, you know, and technology has a fundamental role on it, you know, and we have seen it during the lockdown, especially, you know, because everything was stopped, but technology was the tool that allows everybody to continue operating, you know, to maintain factories open, kids going to school, everything. So I think it's clear how technology is a key asset in any country, no matter where you are located, either in Europe, Asia, Latin America. Connectivity, it's something that it's essential for all of us, and that's why also from Telefonica, you know, we see that we have gone through many different challenges through COVID, but we also think this is a opportunity, you know, to inspire us to build a better future, and that's why we have created at Telefonica a digital deal, you know, to build back our communities, our societies, our economies in Europe and in Latin America, to define new rules, you know, based on strong values, and to be able to put people at the center of the equation to build more sustainable societies, and to put the focus also on WireX. What we want to do is be able to invest on startups developing products that could become massive. So products that could be used at the same time in Vietnam, Spain, Rio, anywhere in the world. And we are putting our focus especially in those areas that were reinforced due to COVID. So anything related to education, environment, reducing the digital gap between societies, but also between generations. Something that we have seen during this pandemic is how elderly people start to get more and more engaged with technology and start embracing it. So we think that there is a great opportunity for all of us, and we want to be able to discover those companies developing innovative solutions, no matter where they are located. So from our side, we will be ready to help all those entrepreneurs to scale up their businesses.
Congratulations. And I think it's very inspiring as well that it's coming from a private-owned company, a conglomerate, because I think we need that bridge as well. So, Kimiko, in Vietnam, one of the things I've been finding out is really the dynamic of the young population, and as well this bridge between all the different players of society. There's a bit of a sense of community that is very present, and a very strong dynamic and velocity. So, like you mentioned, it's a big economy, but as well a very dynamic. So I know that Vietnam has been coping as well very well with COVID. I think you are much better than actually US in Europe. So can you tell us a bit about that dynamic, and as well some of the work that both the government and the startup ecosystem and as well the business are doing, as well some of your experiences?
Yeah, thank you. So I think I have like 3 key points to share about the overview what's happening in Vietnam right now. So the first of all is actually we are officially back to the old normal, which like only social case of COVID is actually contained, and everyone is back into their normal previous life, and we hosted like public events. So the Tech Fest that Dinis was the honorary speaker, we also hosted it, like the offline event was 2,000 or 3,000 people. So so the government has been doing a really good job in terms of like containing the pandemic. But of course, like the second point is that everywhere is so heavily affected by the COVID, because our GDP mostly come from the export, and also like for the outsourcing and the manufacturing. And when the supply chain of the world is like really changing, then of course we see a lot of crisis happening for the startups. And even though we have some kind of subsidy for like the operation and so on, we see the dropout rate for the startups, especially like the one in the early stage or like pre-series A. So the dropout stage for the startup like is at the recording high rate. And I see that as both like the challenge and also like the opportunities, because after this we really see who is like the startup who has the very good preparation in terms of because we have a joke in the startup world that you always have to reserve at least 12 months of your operation cost, no matter what happens. Like maybe you have some investment money coming, but the cash flow is very important, that you reserve some kind of cash. And for the last 6 months, I think that we see a high record of bankruptcy, not only in startups, but like in very big industry players, companies and enterprises that have like a lifelong, maybe 10 or 20 years success in the market. But like the cash flow is a huge problem, and our tourism is hugely affected. So yeah, for like this is a very critical time for the country. But the third notion that I want to mention is I usually compare like this to World War II. Like the common thing between like this pandemic time and the World War II is that usually after the pandemic or after the World War II, what you of course like admit the high death rate and like the economic downturn. But actually usually after the downturn is always like a huge time for opportunities, golden time for something booming coming. So right 10 years after World War III is actually like the accelerating part. The world has seen enormous inventions and most of like the application for new things. So I think for this pandemic, it really put us into a new perspective and really pushes forward, motivate us to be pushed forward. And there was a survey from McKinsey. They say that the acceleration rate for digital transformation caused by COVID is 7 to 10 years in developing countries and 5 to 7 years in developed countries. So almost everywhere now in the country, we see the option to either purchase the thing offline or it will be online. And there's some kind of like e-learning, something like e-competition, and everything is like work from home. So I see that it's a huge opportunity. And that's why like for the Ministry of Science and Technology in Vietnam, we firstly we open like the National Innovation Center, and also like we draw in the fund, actually like reserve some fund from the government, and we push forward at like the biggest co-working space in the country in the two major cities in Vietnam to try to support the ecosystem.
Oh, fantastic! And I think this is I think you touch a very important thing. Is that definitely COVID has been a weapon of financial and economical disruption, and in some cases destruction. There's a lot of things. I think still, well, if you compare the pandemic of 1920, the Spanish flu, with the pandemic now, well, of course, the number of deaths is much smaller. And we have to see that for instance, 1920, there was around 1.5 billion people in the planet. Now there's 8. So we achieved quite a big achievement, and we need to look at the positive part of that. But of course, the economical downturn is massive, and as well the technological. So one of the things, and Tina, I know that you come from Silicon Valley, where you work with one of the biggest companies in the planet as well, and you work a lot with the startup ecosystem of Silicon Valley and San Francisco. Now you are in Bangladesh. So I see that these countries, I think all your countries are right now countries that actually can go faster than actually most of the established global economy powerhouses, because you have not so much red tape, so much bureaucracy, and as well a lot of fast weight, and as well is a much younger population. So I know that in Bangladesh, you've been coping very well with COVID-19 as well. I know that you focus on implementing the SDG goals from United Nations. And I know as well that you are trying to create that is a very entrepreneurial economy, trying to create the startup DNA in the economy. So can you tell us a bit about these different things?
Sure, Dinis, thank you so much. Like you said that, Bangladesh actually handled the COVID situation and still managing it pretty well and surprisingly well. Although there has been a lot of crisis in the public health sector, but, it's not as bad as many of the developed countries. So hopefully, we will continue to do that way. I wanted to just mention one thing that's going on, talking about COVID and events. Currently, right now, as we speak, we actually have the largest virtual online event that's going on in Bangladesh, which is known as the Digital World. And Dinis, I told you about this a few days ago. So Digital World 2020 started December 9th and is going to conclude on December 11th. It is the largest IT fair in the country, hosted by the ICT Ministry. And, anything about ICT startups, it's there and it's global. So we have, ministerial conferences and representatives from global companies and whatnot. So I would encourage any one of you and whoever the listeners and the audience to kind of check it out. So going back to your question about what we are doing, right, with startups and whatnot and COVID. So a couple of things I'm going to specifically mention about our post-COVID roadmap and the big things that we are working on, especially to help the startups. One is, we are looking into developing a national policy and agenda for startups, so that we can incentivize the angel investors with taxes and different type of financial incentives Also, we are looking into working with regulators, especially on the fintech area, because anything that's related to fintech, regulators are involved, especially the central bank and whatnot. So we are looking into working with regulators to make sure that it is the regulations and whatnot is startup friendly. If there are no regulations, we are going to make policies and policies which is going to be helpful. Also on the structurings, the type of legal structures that is going to be more startup friendly. And then trying to also we have a very favorable VAT tax, capital repatriation policies for foreign investments. So, and the other thing is there is a huge trust in access to digital financial services. So on that I want to mention our flagship project that is happening with ICT Ministry in partnership with our central bank, which is the interoperable digital payment transaction platform. So in many cases, Bangladesh, which is entering a middle income country status, it is not using it's not like going from like graduating from primary school to middle school. It's actually graduating from primary school to secondary school. It's leapfrogging with technology, and that is what's happening with the digital financial services and with this interoperable digital transaction platform, IDTP, an aggregator platform where all the vendors, banks, MFSs, they will be onboarded, and there can be interoperability between all of these platforms, which will create, this is going to be a transformational impact through the nation, because if you think about it, the unbanks can use their MFS account and send money from one MFS account to the other MFS accounts, probably sending their the monthly allowances to their families who are back in the rural areas. So like the millions of the informal workers, the garment workers, all of them, they have access to these services. And the SMEs, it's going to also, for the SMEs, it's going to create their credit ratings, the credit history. The other thing is, ease of doing business is a big agenda in Bangladesh's, in their plan, in our ICT roadmap also. And then, the lastly is the investment in education and the collaboration with academia, so that, the research and development can happen with the universities and whatnot. The big agenda, all of this, is all of this is going to be kind of, there's an overarching agenda which is made in Bangladesh. So Bangladesh wants to be the startup and the tech hub, the manufacturing hub in the next 10 years. And that is our Made in Bangladesh campaign, which is basically is going to boost the ICT and emerging technologies in the country. So I would stop there. Hopefully I was able to answer part of your questions, Dinis, but I wanted to kind of mention these points. The other thing is, very quickly, this year we are celebrating the birth centennial of the father of our nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and it is indeed an honor for Startup Bangladesh Limited to start its journey, a pioneering journey in this year. And next year, 2021, we are going to celebrate the country's 50th birth anniversary as a sovereign nation. So it's a very exciting time that we are passing right now.
Congratulations, and I think it's an excellent work. So, Alex, I'll leave you the last word. You were the last one, so you have the last word as well. But I think so. It's been amazing, and I think there's a lot of interesting notes that I have here. And actually, congratulations to all your work. I think Kimiko had to leave us. I think she had some personal issues. But I think so, Alex. In terms of Ukraine, and you mentioned fantastic case studies. I think you need to promote it more worldwide, because I think you guys have been in the news for the wrong reasons, and you have actually a fantastic work that deserves much more attention. And I know that because I've been working with the Ukrainian startups, and I know the dynamism and the technology capacity that you have. So as a wrap up, and as well contextualizing what Tina and Luisa mentioned, any notes that you want to talk, and I think especially some case studies that you've been mentioned, but as well concrete things. You mentioned some unicorns that were coming out of Ukraine. You mentioned as well the work with the government policy making. So, but other things you're doing, and I think especially the digital literacy, which is critical for any country. But I would like probably, and I know that you are a technologist as well, so I know that you're very cutting edge in terms of AI, and AI is a massive, can be used for good or for bad. And at the moment, it's been mostly used actually for bad in a lot of ways. So in terms of governmental work, in terms of these areas of technology and AI, which is the most challenging topic of our time, but as well the most challenging topic of technology, of economy, because the governments that will tackle this right will be the ones as well that will create new jobs and create a lot of new solutions. So I don't know if you want to wrap up on that, and I think it's great as well to wrap up with that note. You are on mute, Alex, if you don't mind. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. So in terms of AI, actually, like last week, yeah, it was just last week. Our government approved and voted for concept of development of AI in Ukraine on a government level. So it basically covers education, defense, business, and some other parts, like 2 other I don't know, sectors, directions, and since we are kind of in the war state with Russia and those issues, so it's very important for our Ministry of Defense. They had huge plans. They have huge plans on using AI for different purposes, and they came up with really cool things, and they focus on non-human managed warfare. So that's maybe a bad thing, as you mentioned. But for on the good side, for example, like another case where AI is used, and also with the relationship with the government, there are due to COVID, there was a huge spike on unemployment rate. So together with the AI company, one of the AI companies in Ukraine, we came up with a solution that basically tests unemployment if they have enough skill to become IT engineers, or at least to be educated in IT sphere. So they built a solution that you basically interact with the machine, and it asks you different questions, and it's not non-linear, and then it figure out what's your level of preparedness to the IT. So can you have a potential to become an engineer or quality assurance manager, or maybe project manager, or maybe delivery manager, or you be a programmer. So that's the example where we implemented AI actually at the moment. So the platform works now. So another thing that we started to it's just starting, because we recently we implemented those cameras on the road and on the streets. So face recognition. That's another thing. It's very common, and we're moving towards because it's about security and safety on the streets, and because it allows do many things. So definitely we look towards this, and I mentioned before during my presentation speech that Reface AI, which is basically AI technology on face recognition, is built by Ukrainians and hit their tops on with the 100 million of downloads. So that's the focus for us, and this is what we said as a government. Like, look, if you do something in AI, we can give it totally government support. We can give you area of implementation. So just do it and come to us. So that's how we tackle this. Thank you.
I thank you. It's been a fantastic panel. Even I think it passed my personal expectations, and they were big. So I really appreciate. First of all, congratulations to all the work you've been doing, which is, I know that is not easy, because it's very easy to criticize. What is difficult is to create, and especially the ones of you working with governments, which is the most important thing, because in the last years have been kind of a trend very negative towards governments, but the governments are still the core of our economies, and we need governments to make us be citizens and to make us to create the rules and as well to improve and empower us. So I want to thank you all. I think Tina from Bangladesh. I think you've been amazing what you're doing. Congratulations for festival. We're going to put links as well during our summit as well. Louisa, congratulations with WireX. I hope we can continue collaborating, and I will connect you all. But I think it's amazing what you're doing, and as well the cutting edge solutions that you've been putting together. And Alex, congratulations, and as well fantastic work you've been doing over there.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So now we're going to just pass the video as we promised from the Deputy Minister of Vietnam. So it's a small video about the Tech Fest and a small testimony that he did in the context of the Vietnamese system and what they've been doing there. So I'll put there is the last 4 minutes. Thank you everyone watching. I think we kept around between 1,000 people to 2,000 people on the live. So I thank you all from all over the world, and I'll just share this last video, and then we have a session in actually around 4 minutes. So I'll just share the screen and I'll put the video. And I hope this time the sound will work well. So just a second. I need to make sure that I take my headphones. we're going to be starting the new panel. Serafima, I pass the word to you. Thank you. You are on mute as well.
Hello, thank you, Dinis. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for a great panel. And now we are moving to our next panel. How can frontier tech, blockchain, AI, IoT, fintech can change our government, cities, and societies? We'll see you in a couple of minutes. Thank you.